Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review for Kyuranger episode. The latest one. I forgot what number it is. The description and the title's gonna have it. Although I'm sure I'll still have people correcting me. And if I make any jokes, people will probably correct me on them because they're treated as facts. Anyway, so this episode honestly was pretty decent. There's a chance that it could be the end of a decent run. I'm not talking about like after this episode Kyuranger is gonna suck in general, but I've mentioned in the previous weeks that we've had a pretty decent run here. Nothing like amazing or anything, but pretty solid. Considering for the last couple of years we usually dropped off right after 6 Ranger debuts. And I've been kind of impressed that we've had several weeks in a row of decent episodes that were somewhat plot-centric. I'm just saying this because like next week's promo makes it look silly. There's always a chance it could surprise me. I think it was Kyuranger that was like notorious for that. Notorious? However it is. Where like the episode preview I'll be like, oh, it looks like a dumb filler. And then like the next week it will be good or like something important would happen. So there's always a chance for that. I'll hold out hope. This keeps blocking the light. The lighting's kind of weird today and I'm sorry, but I had to put a lot of fake lights in because I'm doing this at night. Because I'm not going to have a chance to do it during the day tomorrow anyway. But you don't even know I'm recording this, so I'm not even talking about anything that matters. Anyway, the point is, I'm glad this episode was good. Let's hope it doesn't end next week, but it probably will, to be honest. I was actually really pleasantly surprised that the two brothers didn't meet in this episode. Based on the preview and just kind of general feeling out of how Sentai's usually go, I kind of assumed we would have our first confrontation this week, but honestly it was mainly just Stinger's brother from the shadows. We got a little bit more backstory on him, the fact that he basically, unless I interpreted it wrong, got his monster form from dark matter, which I was curious about that last week. I'm like, does all of their race look like that, or did he get it? And it seems like he got that full-on monster form and stuff from dark matter. So we got a little bit about that. Basically it was a lot of setup and not even like a first meeting conflict setup. It was just setup, like he kind of watched his brother from the shadows as a Kyuranger. We resolved the stuff about Champ thinking that it was Stinger that killed his mentor. Now here's the thing with that. I don't have a problem with them waiting to directly address it in this episode, but it is very awkward that they didn't address it at all between Stinger's addition to the team and now. It just, especially with such an important thing, like this isn't oh, he might have stolen a cookie from me at lunch in high school. This was, he may have murdered my mentor, but let's never mention it again until now. And it just seemed awkward. Like I think I mentioned last week, it was cleared up, you know, in his debut that he has been a Kyuranger as a spy for a while, but it wasn't really cleared up about this, and it hasn't really been mentioned since. So I think that there should have been like one check-in just to make it seem a little less weird that they're still working together fine, even though that a pretty big like murder accusation is hanging over it. But they sort of resolved / moved that story forward with Champ and him actually working together as sort of an odd couple and going off to find him. Mainly the gist I got from it was that Stinger, story's right, I almost corrected myself on something that wasn't wrong. Basically, he says that he wants to get his brother down back to the farm. No, I don't know where that happened. The axe, I just ran with it. No, but he says that his brother, he wants to finish his brother, and you know, that sounded, nope. But he wants to take out his brother, but then Champ questions his resolve because he's still family. And it's basically coming from two different directions where Champ's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And then you have Kotaro who's sort of encouraging him to sort of not give up on his relationship with his brother. Again, maybe I forgot and was misreading it wrong. But basically the gist I got from it is that Champ's going to be there to sort of see what he does and potentially finish the job if Stinger can't. Because it could go one of two ways. They could do a redeemable thing, or 3 ways. Redeemable, or they could go like he's sort of redeemed where he does some sort of act that's good upon his death, or he's just full-on evil, in which case they could use Champ there to be the one to defeat Stinger's brother, because so Stinger doesn't have to deal with the guilt of taking out his brother. But either way, it's kind of interesting to have two different dynamics for Stinger, both just for the relationship with Champ and Kotaro, but with the fact that both of them are also stemming from his relationship with his own brother. Also in this episode, speaking of Kotaro, he's going off to the peace conference to go train. I forgot or didn't know, or some combination of like ignorance, there was a rebellion base, I honestly thought that this was it. Because it seems like such a small effort. So I think that's kind of interesting. Is he gonna go meet Chopper and like the rest of the Ghost crew? No, but it was weird because both his departure and Champ and Sasori's feel like a classic reoccurring actor thing that happens on shows like The Flash. They're like, oh, Jesse's going to Earth 3 because, you know how it is, budget. So that could be the case. I don't know how they're going to handle that. Sometimes things like that happen and I'm like, oh, they're going to be gone for a bit because of budget. And then they're in the next episode just in a different form. Regardless of whether they're leaving for, or going to be leaving or reoccurring for any specific amount of time for this, I would love to see. I don't think there will be a full-on dedicated episode. As cool as that would be, I would love for Sentai to break formula and like set an episode that entirely took place at the Rebellion Academy or whatever, taking place around Kotaro and then some of the characters there, or an episode entirely about Champ and Stinger at a planet looking for his brother or information or whatever. I think that would be cool, but Sentai is deathly afraid of going outside the formula, even though they're dying, so they what's to lose. But that would be awesome. But regardless of that, since we probably won't get full-on episodes, I really hope we see a storyline, at least in an episode, focusing on the duo together, and a storyline with Kotaro at the academy, and it's not just, oh, he's leaving because the kid can't be on screen for a bit and he's back. I think it would be cool. It very well could end up being one of those things where Kyuranger's showing me this little nugget of potential and then doesn't use it, like when I thought they were going to be a planet-hopping series, and they're like, let's stay on Earth because Earth is the best! So, yeah, but there's some cool potential there. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was too much else I wanted to comment on that happened. There was an amusing bit where Commander tried to sit the battle out because his back hurt and that didn't work out. I really wanted to mention, it's not really anything huge, but I thought it was weird. And I don't know if they've done it before and I missed it. They did this weird first-person perspective in the fighting that was like, I think it was with Red, it was with Lucky and Commander, and like Commanders looked like a first-person shooter. They both did, but it reminded me of like Mirror's Edge or like that Hardcore Henry movie. I thought it was interesting. But anyway, I don't have too much else to say. Overall, this was honestly a pretty good episode. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd probably give it a 7.5. Let's hope that either next week surprises us or we don't get too many stupid fillers and we can continue this at least acceptable momentum we've had. But anyway, until next time, make sure to check the podcast at writersmanravels.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.